You are tuned to 88.1 KDHX Independent Music Plays here. My name is Christian Schaeffer with Langhorne, Slim, and Jeff Ratner. Guys, thank you for playing with us today.
Our pleasure.
Good to have you back. You were in the studio about a year and a half ago, and at that time, you were in between records or perhaps recording now, and the new record, The Way We Move, has just been released. Can you tell us a little bit how that's different from Be Set Free, the record that preceded it?
Yeah, sure. There's some real key differences. I think one of those main differences is that the band's been playing on the road now, countless shows. Have you been able to count them?
We've been a band for 3 years, the four of us.
Yeah, so it's the first record that we've ever done as just this tight-knit family of boys, and we've been on the road together for 2 years, basically playing 8 months, 9 months out of those years. So we've definitely developed our sound more, I think, on this record than in the past.
Yeah, and also we did everything live, like the vocal take in the band. We just hit tape all in one instance together, and did very little like overdubbing. So it was definitely more of a, reflective of how we hit live. We were going for like a raw sound. And that's what we got.
A raw punk
soul folk.
Punk soul folk.
R&B. Metal.
All of it. It's all in
Classical
there. Somewhere
record.
in there.
Yes.
Right? And that comfort, that familiarity just comes from 3 years on the road for you guys, just punching it out?
Yeah, I think it's come from learning each other as musicians and as friends, and just becoming a family with each other. A lot of times in music, you don't even, with these guys, a lot of times things are unspoken, so it's a vocabulary that is just kind of understood through the music, through the energy of us, I think, just having spent so much time together. So I think it comes off as more, perhaps, I don't know, honest or...
Yeah, it was a very organic process, and like we, a lot of the feels that we touched on the record were feels we've been doing live, for the last couple of years. Where Be Set Free, I did one tour with the guys, and then I played on the record, and David wasn't even in the mix. And we wanted to add a fourth, and I knew David for years.
This time around, we were a soup that has been sitting for a while, and when soup sits, it becomes more delicious. I think on the other ones, there was some really, I think, tasty ingredients. They were just chopped, put into the broth, and now we are a delicious soup to be tasted and enjoyed by the masses.
Hot soup with Langhorne, Slim, and the Law.
Eat us.
Simmered and sat.
That did sound right.
Langhorne, did that really, from the music side of things, touring for 3 years and having more of a set band to play with, lyrically, was the content or the way you're approaching the songwriting different than Be Set Free this time around?
I don't know because of that, but for me, I felt more than, I think it's just a time in my life. I just felt like I really had something to prove to myself more than anybody else on this record. There were a couple of things on some of the other records that maybe I questioned or maybe wasn't 100% behind, and it was really crucial for me, for whatever reason, that this record I felt and we felt extremely proud of, that we felt we made a piece of art, and that we could, no matter what happened, no matter what anybody said, we can stand behind and as brothers and be proud of this thing. So I don't know why that became such a intense, burning desire or need for me to have that be, but I don't know. If you're going to spend a bunch of time doing something, it's probably a good thing to, want to do it really well. So this time, more than any other time, I wanted my lyrics to be something I would be proud of, and the music to be, something I'd be proud of even more so than the other records.
I think one thing I like about the new record and these songs that you played for us today was there's a musical lightness and fluidity to the interchanges between the bands, and having the banjo. I think last time you were here, Dave was playing piano versus banjo, so maybe a little bit more of that kind of folk aspect to it. But there are some kind of heavy themes on the record too. I was wondering if you could talk about "Song for Sid," the first track you played for us today.
Sure. Sid is my grandfather. He passed away almost a year ago now. And both Sydney and Jack, my other grandfather, I lost both of them, or we lost both of them in the last, I guess, 2 to 3 years. And Sydney and Jack were just heavy, heavy hitters. Real beautiful rebel souls. And they had a huge part in my brother and I's coming up, and just were amazing friends, amazing grandfathers, amazing influences on us. So it's just a tribute to them both, really. I mean, it's called "Song for Sid," and it was more directly about Sydney, but for both of those great men.
And that kind of carries through to the closing track, "Past Lives," which we were really lucky to hear a version of that a year and a half ago when you were in town. And that's a song that, just from our end at KDHX, was a song that resonated with a lot of people and became, I think, one of our most played and streamed and watched videos and songs. I was curious you chose to end with that song for the record. I was hoping it would be on the record, and sure enough, it's there in a pretty pronounced spot, ending with a kind of a big gospel-y number. I was wondering if you could tell what that process is like, become that song and choosing to put it in the closing slot.
Yeah, that just became a natural thing. Our band has never really had set lists on the road. Just kind of put it together as, you know, what feels natural. And that song became a pretty definitive set ender at our shows, and continues to be. And it just feels right. I don't know. So for the record, it sat there and felt like a great place for it. I don't even know if we had much conversation about it. I think it just made sense.
It was where it needed to be. You know, I think it needs space after you hear it, I think, anyway. So it's great that there's not a track afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know that like a light, fun song after that would be the thing, but I don't know. Yeah.
Do you think that puts a stamp on the whole record? Because I always found with the last song of a record is the last taste in your mouth, and what does that say for the way we move as your latest release? If that in some ways is the way you leave listeners.
I have no idea. I really don't. I'll leave that up to the people that listen to it. For me, it's both a joyous record and a very heavy record. Personally, I cried a lot writing some of these songs. I cried a lot listening to some of these songs after we cut it, and it's also made me feel like boogieing and dancing. So hopefully, it doesn't make people just laugh or just cry, but maybe shed a tear and boogie and shake. Right, Jeff?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And I really thought the cover image of a boxer sort of in the ring was a great image too, because I heard the title, you know, "The Way We Move," and immediately thought of the Outkast song, "I Like the Way You Move." That was maybe my own attachment to it, but I thought that was. But then the kind of movement on both fronts and sort of a more combative statements as well. So.
Yeah, that happened by accident. I found this picture. I was trying to flirt with a girl. It didn't work out. I was trying to flirt with her through text messaging, which can be fun. I'm fairly recently single, and I've learned that can be fun, especially when it works out for you. But anyway, I was looking up like these old, what I thought were like cool, like black and white photos and like funny pictures and stuff like that, to send her, and then also write what I also thought was witty and charming little things under it. So anyway, I found this picture of this dude breaking like a speed record on this motorcycle, riding through. It's apparently a fairly famous picture. I'd never seen it before, but it's just this really cool picture. This guy, breaking the speed record on a motorcycle, is like flying off of it, going through like the Sahara Desert. And it turns out Time Magazine owned that picture. It would have cost us like thousands of dollars to use. So I had my little heart kind of broken that couldn't be the picture, because I thought that was the one. And then David and our manager Dolph were hanging out in Charlotte. We had a show out in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they were looking at pictures of boxers, and it seemed to work. I came back to to the venue, and they're like, "Yeah, we think we found the picture for the record." I said, "All right, there we go."
Langhorne Slim, Jeff Ratner of Langhorne Slim and the Law. Thanks so much for coming back to KDHX. Always a pleasure to have you in town.
Our pleasure. We look forward to the next time.
Much.
Thank you.